power to do that if you chose to.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Rose, quick question, do you know by chance, what we've done in the past typically if an issue like this has arose? Do you know?
No, I'm sorry, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, I'd have to research it out.
Okay, Nikki, go ahead.
What about, do you by chance have anywhere saying where it was froze? Would it be anywhere?
We usually don't even look at, I don't even think we even look at that, they just usually go on unthawed surface. No, it's not usually.
In most cases, here you dug up the valve box and those froze usually between the valve box and the road. Very few was it ever froze between there and the house. So that's
That would be on
done
public land, right?
prior. All of them was responsibility of the village.
Okay, and do you know then, since you have experience in regards to this, do you know how the water bills were reflected on for the residents in the past on what was done?
I don't believe this ever came up before.
No.
I know Bev Mercer went several months, 4 or 5 months without water, and she paid a water bill. So, that's all I know.
And what were you going to say in regards, did you have anything?
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, I mean, I can vouch that there's like next to no pressure down there. I mean, that's another one of the things that's kind of holding up the car wash. So where he's saying volume, like pressure. more,
Okay.
so.
Frank?
If it's the goal of the board to influence business, as earlier stated, then something should be considered in that regard. I'm just reminding that this is a new business under new zoning permit. They just opened. So if it is the goal to move forward and create new business, here's an opportunity. A water bill could damage that. Just putting my 2 cents in.
May I ask for the property location?
83 something. Oh, sorry. Is it my?
No.
Are you waiting to address this?
What's that?
Are you waiting to address
I was hoping to have a chance to address the board.
Yes. So in regards to this though, I mean, we need to decide what's the right way to handle this. I know, I just don't know which is the right way to do it, because
It's never come up.
it's never come up.
Can I interrupt? I can tell you that when they went to fall Jesse's service, they dug up the service in front of my house, which is across the road. They could not thaw it from there, so they went on the opposite side of the road in front of the building and somehow thawed it over there. So I don't know if it was under
It may
the
have not
road.
been at the main then, is what you're saying.
Yeah, because they dug up in front of my house, which is opposite of Nikki's. And they were not able, they worked there for 3-4 hours and were unable to thaw it. And then they went across the road in front of the building,
That was last year.
yes.
So, I need, what's everybody's opinion in regards to this, because I just don't know what's the right way and what's the wrong course of action for the village and the resident here.
If that gets levied on the tax, can you then adjust it later, or is it stuck because it's on the tax levy? You have to acknowledge what I'm saying.
If it goes on the tax bill, I have to collect it. I can't
You can't
collect a
then
partial
do
tax bill.
You can't then change it, once it's been levied on the tax.
When does it
The,
get levied?
I have to have the re-levies to Cat County by April 24th.
Well, I agree with the code officer. I think if we're trying to get new business in town, I don't think that we should.
So, do we just forgive it?
I mean, I know, like, 'cause that's more than billing cycle. It's what? How many is that?
It's
30?
probably
4.
about 4,
So like the whole year.
And how much was the balance?
$885.34 that probably includes, June through March billings.
Split the difference?
I mean, so that'd be, I divide it out by months and.
I just don't understand why this wasn't brought up prior. Why is it all brought up now is what everyone is saying?
Because the property is gonna be paid, the taxes are gonna be paid by Jared's uncle as he's leasing the property. So
Okay.
now, I think Chelsea is kinda telling him to cut off.
Alright, so first, because we gotta move on, we gotta get that done with this. As far as legal opinion, Jay, what would you say would be the expert advice in regards to,
It's, the board has the discretion of doing either one that it wants, but that custom is that the board forgives it if it's on the village property, and then when it's on individual property owners, it differs from municipality to municipality.
so typically, so this, if this is because of, it's on village property, not because of that being the residency, right then? Alright, so then if it's our issue, then we should take ownership of it, correct? Is everybody in agreement with that? I mean, hoping I'm making, okay, so then.
But I don't wanna be like the,
No,
mean that
it's
it's like
just-
now in our hands. type
If
of-
we're going by what typically has been done, so then it just seems like it would make the most sense if it was on our, well, before though. How do we prevent this from happening again at that residency though? How do we know that that's not gonna happen down the road, that it's gonna freeze again and then,
We don't know, so there, it was an exceptionally cold winter, anything could happen.
I mean,
We
then
leave-
the village would be stuck with
Right now,
eating the money again, correct?
as of now.
One-time event. It's a one-time event.
How many days was it up? 64? 60, why can't you divide it by the days and just
That's
subtract
what
the
I was
62 days?
So prorate it. would
Yeah.
be-
Just take the 62 days off, you know how much the bill is, and the time length, just divide it by the amount of days, and that'll give you how much it is by day, and then do 62 days.
Alright, so is everybody in agreement then that we'll make a motion for that, to be prorated accordingly?
Yeah.
Alright, so who will make the motion?
I will.
Second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. Alright, motion approved. There we go. Thank you.
Danny,
I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
in order to answer that, if it could happen again, was that property vacant at that point in time, or was it being used?
He was,
I'm just curious, because if it
I'm
was
not
vacant, it'd be
sure.
more likely to freeze.
I don't know if he was in there, but we kept the water running all winter. After the first time it froze, we kept the water going, so,
Okay.
I mean. just-
Alright. Let's get to you, sir, so you can go back home to your family. Apologize for.
I'm the engineer, Jake Elliott, work for MDA Consulting Engineers in Ellicottville. We've been working with the village on the water project. I wanted to introduce myself to the new board members.
Thank you, sir.
And I guess, one thing I'd like to request is, know who should be our primary contact, liaison, let's say.
That would be aye.
Okay, and I believe I have your cell phone number now.
Yes.
And you may have gotten a message from the health department, the health department
Yep.
engineer and I were hoping to set up a meeting with you to be able to transition across this.
Yes. And,
You don't have to set up a meeting with me now, but.
well, I know that, spoke with Eric, Woolers at the health department, wants to get together, I believe, later this week.
Yeah, it's your convenience.
Well, and also what's convenient for you guys as well, that works for both parties. I would like to say, if we can get together this week, towards the end, that'd be perfect, and we can move forward with that. I think that'd be great.
Eric was available on Thursday afternoon. I live
Yes.
close to town here, so any afternoon that works for you is.
Alright, so Thursday, I don't believe I have any plans, so can we shoot for Thursday at 4?
Yeah.
Thursday at 4?
I'll confirm with Eric and give an email address that's a good contact.
Yes, it's VOC for Village of Cattaraugus .mayor@gmail.com. Okay.
Alright, and then, one item we've been working on with the village actively right now is the environmental review. To step back to the big picture, the village identified a water project, that had a $3.6 million budget. Applied for various sources of funding. Successful in some, unsuccessful in others. At this point, the village was awarded a community development block grant through New York State Homes and Community Renewal for $600,000. And that was all the funding that they were able to achieve. They could have gotten, no grant funding, and, I don't believe that we weren't being offered, subsidized interest.
We were offered
Right.
subsidies.
We were offered subsidized interest, but the terms were such that it was going to make the, average user costs unaffordable.
Okay.
Basically, to achieve that entire project. So at this point, limited to work that was, just slightly more than $600,000 to try to utilize that grant. That grant has to be utilized by the end of this year. So we're moving forward with trying to do that, and the first step was an environmental review. And we've been working on that. Right now, it's kind of run into an issue with, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and they identified there's a possibility of an issue with the northern long-eared bat, which is a new endangered species. I'm making this up.
It's in the trees.
That's in the trees, and we have to clear trees for access roads and to do the work at the springs that was identified as the first phase. But we can go over that in depth at the meeting where we stand on that, but, right now stuff is into Fish and Wildlife to see what their response is about
Okay.
the restrictions they put on when we can do the work or if they issue a permit. But that has to be completed before we can, file the notices that start the clock on finalizing the environmental review, and then they'll release funds, and so that's still pushing stuff back a little while. We can get all the drawings ready, we can be ready to go with the project, but we can't actually expend any money out of this grant, $600,000 that's been offered, until we can have all the environmental sign-offs. And right now, Fish and Wildlife is the big one that.
Is there any way we can expedite that so that we can move forward with
Yeah,
phase one and get that accomplished?
Yeah, we're trying to do that. We've talked to the staff, the biologists, and the New York State office for that. Also, the DEC has a department, Natural Heritage, and we work with them. Yes, we're trying to expedite, and we've made them aware that it's tied to accomplishing this piece of work this year.
Okay.
Part of it is, tied into it is that, the funding agency is requiring us to do an environmental review for the entire scope of the project, as identified in the original report, the $3.6 million project, which included transmission mains from the spring sites to the village. The whole thing, even though we're not doing that all this year, we're just trying to get this smaller piece accomplished. And there's a lot of discussion back and forth, and they won't allow environmental review to go for a small amount only. So, but the board action item, the board action item that we need to address tonight, is that there is the board, I previously addressed the board at, I believe it was 2 months ago, and they have to designate a certifying officer in environmental responsibility. So they have to identify a person from the village that has to sign and authorize all the forms that are part of this
Okay.
environmental review. They previously passed a resolution authorizing, Mayor Pritchard, and at this point, due to the turnover, we probably should have the board either a new resolution or
So
revise
then
that
the
resolution to appoint someone. It could be the new mayor or any board member.
I would make the motion that, Dan, chief officer, has power to sign.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
I
Aye. All opposed say no.
make sure you get
Okay.
After we did that last time, the funding agency made me aware that I have to take their form, but we have to get it on the village letterhead. So I'll
Okay.
work with Rose directly to get that on the letterhead, and then you can execute it.
Yeah, absolutely, because I tune in typically every night, so she puts it in my
Yeah.
mailbox, I can go ahead and sign that for you, no problem.
And we'll have a meeting, and we can go over details and see these forms that we're
Yes.
talking about. But
Absolutely.
are there any questions that the public or the board has?
Board first, of course.
Is anybody on the board? No. You're free.
Who's the lead agency that's appointed for that?
The lead agency,
For the secret
village,
review?
yeah, the village, accomplished the secret review last summer, actually.
Oh,
Okay, and the village was the lead agency. And the village's finding at the conclusion of the secret review was that they issued a negative declaration.
So is this a
But
type
it-
one or,
It was identified as a type 1 action.
because of the size of it?
The short answer is because the one funding agency we were working with is Environmental Facilities Corporation, Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, and they require all their projects to be identified as type 1, even if it doesn't meet the thresholds. So, but that process was concluded. The process we're going through now, the money from the Community Development Block Grant is ultimately federal funds, and so it's NEPA review, which is the federal equivalent of a secret review. And part of it is that they require documentation of the secret review, which is a state review. So that's one piece of the NEPA review, but.
So they gave a neg deck on the seeker,
The
and
state,
then on the NEPA, there's an endangered species. How's that going to affect your neg deck?
during the secret review, Fish and Wildlife didn't respond in the timeframes that they had. And
Okay.
part of that is because this particular, it's not an endangered species, as far as I'm aware, yeah, as I understand it, that it's not.
Is it listed though?
It's not currently listed, it's been proposed for listing, which puts it on a list that triggers when we say this.
Species of
Yeah,
concern.
there's two other endangered species in Cattaraugus County. There's one's a clam, and I forget what the other one is, but there's something that
Residents.
they won't affect it. They're not worried about that. This bat issue, frankly, is, it's affecting a lot of projects in various phases.
What we've been told where I work is that you're cutting certain trees,
Mhm.
you are to contact the state level. They will come clear the tree so it can be dropped,
Mhm.
is what we've been told. I don't know.
We've been told that there's certain timeframes, there's certain
So
times of
they,
year
like,
that they'll allow
Yeah.
tree
get
clearing.
them out the tree.
If they're in here, I don't think they'll cut it.
No, that, we worked, we contacted, Corey, and we took photographs of the site of all the trees and submitted those to the biologists for their review, but, that's where we kind of stand right now.
One last thing, and I promise I won't bug you anymore.
No, that's fine.
In the 2015-16 budget that just got passed by the state, they included a provision that a significant amount of money is going to be given to municipalities shortly in order to match funds on clean water and sewage projects, and that'll be 60% up to a cap of whatever the municipality is going to be doing. So you're going to want to look into that in the future when you go for the next phase of that project.
Yeah, we're still,
happy to
as
figure
far
out
as I
which
know, we're
corporations
still
we can
listed on the intended use plan with the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. So we're still actively in the cycle, and basically, they score the projects. There's a whole matrix, and this project scored out 5 points below the threshold for hardship determination that would have resulted in grant money, helping subsidize the cost. And there's, we've been informed that there's hope that the next cycle, the threshold will drop enough to pick us up with that 5 point, and we just missed it.
Somebody peeing in the reservoir wouldn't do that.
And frankly, they said if we ran out of water, we would run. But at this point, the village has taken some extraordinary steps on their own to try to secure their water system the last couple of summers when it was very dry.
So much to discuss on Thursday.
Yeah, there's a lot to go over, but, are there any other questions?
Sorry we kept this so much.
No, not at all.
Thanks for hanging in there with us.
Thank you, Jake.
You're welcome.
All right,
Have a good one.
To either go to,
next one would be attorney legalities. Do you have anything to provide to us, Jay?
It probably wouldn't be appropriate for the board to issue written policies for certain positions, like the clerk and the treasurer, because they're public officers under section 36, and they're only removable by a judge for malfeasance and maladministration. If you want to have written policies that say what you expect, then you can, but they're supervised by a judge, not by the board, although you do get to appoint them. The sidewalk. If the village ever gets a formal notice of the sidewalk in front of the ambulance service creating a hazardous condition, if somebody notifies the board, and then after that, somebody else gets hurt on it, the village could be sued and become liable on that. Typically, whoever creates the condition is the first one made liable, but if that's in the public right of way, the village can also be liable on that, so it's something that, if anybody brings in a formal notice, let me know immediately, because then you gotta start working on that. And, yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Historian's not here, hopefully, Mr. Cohen can attend, our next meeting. Alright, moving along with the,
Can we revisit the April 6th? We've been getting along so well. Do we either go back to the April 6th meeting, or do we do correspondence?
I'd say do correspondence.
Okay, let's do correspondence.
alright, let's continue to handle on with correspondence. Let's see here, I put in the, to give to you guys for what I attended. We have Cattaraugus County Strategic Planning Committee, which would be this one, this huge packet, where they gave huge presentation in regards to property tax freeze and all this. There's much to go over in regards to this, because the presentation itself is about 45 minutes, and the county has been extremely wonderful at explaining everything in regards to this and how we're to cut and how we're able to save. Also in regards to that, I will tie in the Cattaraugus County, what was it in regards to? This was the Municipal Officials Association. There's another, this is a smaller pamphlet, but it actually provides some guidance in how it was the, what was it, the DPW that provided it?
Yes,
County?
the one packet from the Strategic Planning Committee, of which I'm chairman, so I know a little bit about it.
Was it,
But the big
This
packet was from the county. There's a page in there that speaks specifically to the village of Cattaraugus and the amount of money that you're expected to pare off your 2014 levy. And the tax freeze packet will give you suggestions as to how to do that. The second thing that happened at the Cattaraugus County Municipal Officials, which is the Association for Villages and Cities. So mayors, trustees, we have 6 meetings a year, and you get notification of those, and we would welcome everyone to come, your clerk, everyone. Our guest speaker was Joe Pelletier, our Commissioner of Public Works for the county, and he did a similar plan just on shared services for DPWs. So that's just some ideas on how departments of public works could collaborate and help with the tax freeze.
In regards to, Mr. Pelletier, is that, am I saying that right?
Yep, Pelletier.
Pelletier. Also, he discussed in regards to like specific ways to cut costs,
Right.
and also how to make money. And there's much to go in detail in regards to this, and we have to submit this by the end of May.
Yes.
And
June 1st.
June 1st, excuse me. So that would be where Gene and myself, we have to submit this, and we get one chance to click the submit button for everything, so that each resident can save whether it be $6 to $16 for each taxpayer. So in regards to that, I think this is something that we can discuss more in detail at the work session, so that everybody can look at this fully and bring ideas on how we can cut that 1%. There's already some great ideas out there. I also made some notes on it from what was being discussed and what people were saying and how to save. So I think that we can discuss this come the next the work session on the 29th. Is that what it is? Rose?
I'm sorry?
Is the next meeting on the 27th?
27th.
The 27th.
Sorry, I was reading the next correspondence.
I would like to make sure so that everybody is a part of this and we can make some decent ideas, because again, we only have one shot at it, but we should be able to hammer right through it, and then hopefully the next board meeting have it all drawn up and we can go ahead and move forward with this and continue to tackle all the other issues, and this is all taken care of. Does anybody have any questions in regards to tax freeze, tax budget, tax cap that's going on? Can we address later on? Okay.
Well, the last couple of years we've been fine.
See here, email from the Office of the State Comptroller, regards a webinar in regards to cracks and foundation, that they talked about. Myrna Reynolds, reporting the Cattaraugus Little Valley Soccer Club. Rose, what was that really all about?
It looks like her annual report regarding the soccer program
Okay.
and how they're tying in with the Seneca Nation, cooperating with them.
Okay, and then moving on to correspondence. Let's see here. Charles Fillion, New York State Homes and Community Renewal to MBA Engineers. Anything really to discuss on that? Anybody can see? Cattaraugus County Agriculture and Farmland Protection Board review and consolidation of New York State Certified Agricultural District. Did anybody by chance read that? No?
They've requested a worksheet be filled out.
Okay.
If you operate a farm or rent land to a farmer, please fill out the enclosed worksheets.
In which we do not, correct? So that's Alright, moving on, New York State Homeland Department of Security and Emergency Services, Interstate Mutual Aid Program. Anybody have any questions in regards to that? Pretty much no. Time Warner Cable expiring agreements, same old in regards to that.
When's that expiring?
That is,
Which one of the millions that they
We
send
get
us?
We get that
They
every
send
month.
us like
We get
4
that
a
every
month.
month. We get that
Yeah,
every
it's not the franchise, it's individual channels and offers that they give to
just like
their
what you would get
subscribers.
for
I got one.
at home, what they're eliminating and all that. This time is all in regards to certain channels, and obviously that doesn't pertain to the village because we don't use, or we don't have a TV that we watch TV or anything like that. So that's what the Time Warner
Oh, okay.
was all in regards to. Municipal Solutions, Labor Standards Enforcement Report due, there was none,
Yeah,
correct?
there wasn't any labor to report, but we still have to submit the report. That's what you signed and we sent
Correct.
back to, Mary Chapel
Correct.
and, I believe it was OCR that we sent it to as well. That was emailed on April 7th.
Alright, email from Stacy Corbin, Youth Council. Where is that listed?
That's a non-safe situation.
Do you know why that is?
She was requested to, a while ago, send in a complete list of first and last names of kids that attended the swim program in Estado.
Okay,
And she said that she was not comfortable sending last names of kids, even though, I mean, it's not like we're getting their social security numbers or anything, so Estado wanted the names because they didn't know,
East Adam was dropping out of the youth.
so now they're dropping out because she didn't,
Low numbers.
she didn't provide the list, which they didn't believe they had the number of kids that she was saying that they had
okay.
boils down. So I think we need to just start looking for somebody that would be willing to, I guess first and foremost, be able to provide us a list of kids that attend this swim program.
Well, are we able to,
The problem there is that they send out, they used to send out the registration forms so late. And, you know, the registration form should probably be in school by May. And they would send them out
It was the last day of school,
last day of school or something. And the kids.
and programs were starting like,
Starting right
the
after,
next week.
right after 4th of July. So there were some days they ran the bus to East Otto and they had 2 or 3 kids. So those really, we need to get somebody and those need to go out. I mean, they give T-ball a couple of weeks to think about it. You can't send, last day of school, you send them home. Kids, half the kids leave the line.
They are gonna have that when we get the payment.
are we, Rose, can you,
Real hot summer and
submit
all
an
that.
email to Stacy, to invite her to come to the meeting and see if we can resolve this and come to an actual agreement on how to move forward on this? I mean,
Okay, so I'm holding her payment and you want her to attend the May meeting?
yes, please.
Okay.
Can you hold your payment?
Are we able to?
well, what
We have to this point.
we
Okay.
have,
Okay. I'll
we
talk-
paid
I'll
her
talk.
up front for the first half, and then once she gets all of the paperwork that we request submitted to the state or the county and that we're looking for, we pay her the rest, but she hadn't given us all of the information for Estado, so we still, am I right? Is that kind of where we're at?
Yeah, if you can ask her to please attend and we can go through this and move forward on that as well, that would be
Okay.
great. Does anybody have anything to add to youth council in regards to that? Okay, let's see here, from NICOM, a webinar on government efficiency on plans, that's what they had back on March 24th. There is a new, or what is it, NICOM has training this Friday in Geneseo. I know myself and Rose are attending for their annual workshop. That's an all-day fair. Is it already completed, like you can't register anymore, correct?
I didn't have a chance to check into that today because I was closing out town taxes.
Okay.
So, my impression was that one of you were going to check into it tomorrow. It's possible I can check into it tomorrow as well. I finished the town tax, so.
Okay.
I would love to go back.
I understand, because I know I sent an email to everybody to know, so that we partake of that, but, in regards to NICOM, let's see here. Cattaraugus County, what is it? Department of Human Resources, what's WC insurance?
Workers' compensation.
Oh, workers' comp, okay, workers' comp insurance, allocation liability. Where is it? Where is it? I don't know why I'm out of. Oh, okay, here we go. So, allocation, is this it? You sure? Village of Cattaraugus, but that's. Rose, you know what the Cattaraugus County Department of Human Resources, Workers' Comp Insurance Allocation Liability, which form that is?
That's the project that Eric started in trying to find out if we could, relay the workers' comp to the town. Is that correct, Eric? She has emailed me back asking for, information from the town or village minutes regarding the formation of the district. We've gone through the village minutes and we've copied everything on the formation of the district on the village side. Now we need to do the research on the town side and copy that, and then we can forward it to her. And then that's, my understanding is the next step, is they need to review that paperwork.
Okay. So that's on over.
Would you like to give me, this is important, would you like to give me, or you want me to give you a little more information on
Please,
that?
yes.
There is a claim from last summer by a fireman that is in the claim system for workers' comp. The fire district, the fire company, and in this village district is per New York State Comptroller's Office opinion, it's supposed to be under the township, regardless if it's located within the village. Okay, I don't know exactly how the fire district is split in. I mean, I know it's 353 railroad tracks over to, but as far as in the township of Persia, there's I think 3 fire districts. So one of those is the one that's covered by us. However, that claim, because it's a 3-year window, will be coming up this year. It'll be 2012, 13, and 14. That claim will affect you next spring when you pay your workers' comp. If you don't get that moved over to the town where it belongs. I've given them all the information I had, the opinion of the comptroller's office.
We just have to keep on it and make
Actually,
sure.
Paula was at a Cattaraugus County Municipal Officials meeting that I was at, where Julie Carr spoke about it, and everyone in the meeting agreed with me that it belonged in the township. So
Yes, typically, when fire districts are formed, I can speak,
Absolutely.
towns are responsible for that. And I will tell you this, the village of South Dayton had budgeted $4,700 for comp, because our comp had dropped. We had one very small instance. It wasn't a fire, it wasn't a major injury or anything like that. No loss of time from work. The following year, we budgeted $5,000, knowing that our comp would go up because we had a claim. Our bill came during the budget cycle. It was $10,138. That hurts.
it's a group insurance, so it's not only affected by what you do here in local municipality, it's a group plan. It's a group coverage, if you will. So basically, all the claims are kind of thrown into a bucket and split up based on previous claims as well as split by assessments.
Yeah,
Split
and
down
your
by
land
assessments,
values and
percentage
your assessments
assessments.
are tied to that too, but one claim, you can, you know, if the village is still paying and the claim hasn't hit you yet, you can figure your comp payment will at least double, at least double. And then for the next 3 years, it will stay at that higher level before it starts to decrease again. Just
So
some
we need
food
to
for
make sure
thought
that
for
we
your
get that
budget.
taken care of and it remains a high priority then, for budget purposes, obviously.
Excuse me, one of the things that we found in the village minutes, there was a question raised at the beginning of the formation of the district, that there was a question about line items and that something couldn't be transferred to the town. I left it in my drawer, I can go get it if you'd like me to further expound on it. But that may explain why the village retained it and it wasn't transferred automatically to the
One
town.
really important thing, sorry, Rose, only one really important thing is the fire district expenses are billed on your town
Yes.
taxes, not your village taxes. The town is the taxing authority. That is the most important part. So,
Like when you get your tax bill.
Yes.
it's listed.
it's
Would you like me to
separate
grab
line
that?
item on your taxes, town tax.
Work on it in your work
Do you know where it
Yeah.
is, Joy? It's in
No,
my.
we don't need to grab it, we'll take, we can,
Okay.
that's something that we can put forward to the work session on the 27th,
Okay.
okay? Moving forward, email from Elizabeth O'Neill, ARC grant application. Eric? can
She
you-
had come up with another opportunity. We've tried several times to get grants to at least look into some type of feasibility study for the old school. Frank, in his early days said, it's gonna be your problem.
And it's
Yep.
It's gonna be your problem. Somewhere along the line, this will be a village problem. So anyways, I've been working with Elizabeth O'Neill, who has written a lot of grants. Primarily, she's from East Otto. She helped with East Otto get their playground, and she's done several different things, but she runs the trading post. She's looked at a couple of different ones that we've gotten, haven't been awarded. She came up with another one recently. Southern Tier West was tied in somehow, I don't remember. But I forwarded all that to Rose.
I have,
and
I
copied.
have.
I don't think I copied you guys as of yet, because you didn't have either.
The village's position is secure because I've notified the current owner several times, and I've recorded it through county sheriff delivery that they are now in notice of an unsafe property. So it's been actively code enforced as to the best of my ability to at least keep notifying the owner in case someone gets hurt. Thereby, the village is doing their best.
Okay, so this is something else that we need to discuss, is the old school, yes.
Just in regards to the old school front, I noticed that it looks like the front entranceway where it's fallen down has been picked up. Who did that? Do you know?
I'm hoping the owner did that after he was notified, because he was notified rather sternly, let's put it that way.
Who is it?
It's the owner's been there for a while. See, the thing is this, when people decide to abandon a property, they think it's automatically going to be assumed by the county, and it's not true. The county will assume anything of value, but if it has no value or there's something of a high cost to assume, such as liability or safety, they won't touch it, so it stays in purgatory. It's still the liability of that owner, even though he's abandoned it legally, at least by my terms of training, you have to protocol that. So therefore, yes, there is still an owner, but not actively claiming they are owned. They're just legally owning it. Until someone picks up that property, it's going to continue to deteriorate. It's going to end up collapsing, and then another unsafe structure in the village. And this one will be tons of money to clean up if it's done privately or even through grants. Currently, the burned out house on Leavenworth, I have had to work last 4 years just so that we now finally have the county that's going to clean it up. It takes that long sometimes, people. It's not that easy. So currently, the one on Leavenworth that's been burned down for all these years, this spring, we finally have the county committed to cleaning it up and demolishing it.
So in regards to the village, or in regards to the old school, if somebody were to get hurt on that property, is it falling upon?
We have notified the owner and we have record of it, thereby the liability is on that owner. The village has been making notice that that's an unsafe property for a long time now. So I've taken as much off the village as I can. I mean, if someone does get hurt, in the world of the legal system, anything's possible, but I have proven that at least the village has recognized it. We have notified So therefore, hopefully, the owner has the sole responsibility of that. I cannot condemn it. If I condemn it, therefore, it is now the liability of the village, and anyone getting hurt on that property now becomes liable to the village. So I will not condemn a building as long as it has a private ownership. That's why all these abandoned buildings right now don't have condemned stickers on them. People have asked me that why. No, I'm keeping the village out of a liable position by condemning. I have the power to condemn. I won't do it.
Okay. So that's something that we need to discuss also. Rose, if you can put forward the work session. I know there have been efforts in the past to do something with the old school. And that is something that maybe if a committee is created, that can be something that can be tasked, and we can actually turn that into something of valuable use for the village and for the community. Moving forward. Letter N, alright, so we received, what is it, from Paul and Jessica
Chatty.
Chatty.
That account is paid in full as of April 2nd, $530.90 was paid.
Okay, so they sent in an email sent in correspondence saying that we would like our water turned back on.
It was turned back on, the connection charge will show on the next billing.
Okay, so they're all good, right? Okay, they paid the bill, let's see the bill. Utility payments. Who is that? Is that this? No, that's in regards to that.
I can tell you if you want.
Alright, so in regards to utility payments,
Oh, was this the?
Early bills. It's the email from Eric.
yes. Eric, since you know about this, could you say?
Yep, real quick, National Grid bills were late last month, maybe it's 2 months ago now, I can't remember. Which we have several accounts, scattered throughout the municipality as well as outside of the municipality. The National Grid in particular are, I believe, all inside. Maybe there might be a couple out. There are. Black Martin knows up. But anyways, late payments on a commercial account are a big deal. Okay? This is a commercial account. They can force you to make major down payments.
It's
They have some
in that one bill.
funky calculation of how they do it, but it's major. You can affect your credit rating. Being in the process of trying to refinance or refund, they call it our debt, our bonds. That's not the position you want to get into. So I wanted to make sure you guys are aware of the severity of that issue, and I think they said in the next 12 months, if you haven't, if I remember right.
When I was signing vouchers, it was a page that said if there's another late payment within the next 12 months, down payment would be required.
Okay. Are we, in regards to that, I mean, is there something that we're able to do to make a payment online? So when a bill becomes due, we can just, bam, take care of it right then and there?
Well, my thing is when I was signing the vouchers, I don't even know if I guess that would work. I looked at one of the bills, and the date on it that was received was like March 2nd.
Okay.
And it's still not sent out. Or it had just recently been sent out. But what all I guess I'm getting at is if there's bills that are in that category where, I mean, we're all human, it happens, sometimes, something gets lost in the mail, sometimes it gets misplaced. But if it's in that state, you need to make sure that a check is sent out when you get it, and we can approve something at the next.
So with you being auditor of claims, you're able to come up and approve of a voucher or of a payment, correct?
Yeah.
And then Rose and Joy are able to go ahead and cut the check and send it immediately right then and there once the voucher's been approved, correct? Is that how it works? If I'm understanding the process right?
Or,
At the organization meeting,
we
we
can.
passed that, Dan, where utility bills can be
Paid
paid.
immediately upon receipt. Okay.
But they can, those vouchers can be held even until the next meeting.
Okay, so then
So,
they,
it just needs to get paid.
okay, so we made a resolution that they're able to go ahead. Yes, Joy.
We did have a problem
where it took well over a week for our payment to arrive. It was sent out and it didn't get there until after the due date, and I don't know why. I'm not sure about the March second, I would have to look at the vouchers, that's not normal, we don't, yeah. The utility bills come over the course of about a week, they usually come right after the board meeting.
Okay.
Once I have all of them, I pay them. The problem is that because we have so many accounts, they tend to be spread out in mail.
So we can actually go ahead though,
Pay them as we go.
because
We
you
could
guys
do
have
that.
the-
Previously, it was decided it was more economical to get them all and pay them all at once, but I can do them.
Yes, sir.
Just so you know, the last time I raised the postage rates, it was for storage, okay? And, but why wouldn't you have a tickler system on this set up for when that comes in? And those you pay electronically. You can't depend on the mail. And Eric's saying that we're in deep trouble with risk of our bond rating and everything. Why would you jeopardize that over just doing it electronically?
Can I speak on that? This came up earlier, last couple of weeks. I contacted our accounting firm that does our audits, and it was their recommendation that being that you're dealing with municipal funds, that you do not do it electronically. They felt that control was lost, and you're dealing with municipal funds over the internet. And they did not recommend that you do it electronically.
However,
Wait a minute, does the county do things electronically? I mean, they must do it
yeah, how does the county manage?
transfers. They have to.
I'm sure they do web transfers from account to account, but as far as I know, they still write checks.
The accounting firm was in favor of us receiving electronic deposits, et cetera, from the state, but when submitting a voucher, they were not in favor of doing it electronically.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter what they're in favor of. If we jeopardize our bond rating, and we're saying that we've been in trouble before.
Oh, yes, I agree with you, but I would rather play it safe with our people that are coming in to audit us, too. Yeah. So you kinda gotta weigh out your pros and cons, I guess.
This sounds like poor business.
It sounds like.
I just look at it from a business standpoint.
Business, but, yeah, I mean,
I feel that if we were to make a payment online, you're able to print the statement right then and there. It can be turned in with the voucher, and that's the paper data that you have, and the paper trail, and everything's taken care of right then and there. And then the village it eliminates the liability risk for the village drastically. That it's able to be paid right then and there.
But you're opening yourself up to your municipal account is gonna go out there online. And you're dealing with public funds, you're not dealing with your personal funds. You're
Maybe you
dealing
should do
with
it like the state does it.
How does the state do it?
They put it on their credit card. They know it. Credit card bill comes in, there's got one check to the credit card.
Does the village have a credit card so that we can do such?
Village does not have a credit card.
I don't know if that's.
The state actually makes payments to us through, the automated clearinghouse
Correct.
with their water bill for Gill Drive and probably a couple other things.
I think we should.
And ADP is paid electronically, but they obviously have access to our account anyways, so.
I mean, is that something that because obviously our funds are all with the bank, are we able to, is the bank able to, if anything, then establish a debit card? And be able to do such? And so
At that time, I mean, a debit card is directly linked to your account. I mean, if someone got your number, they're draining you, whether they have your checking account number or your debit card number.
So then that's why the state uses a credit card.
Yeah.
So how does the village go out to get a credit card so that stuff like this could be handled?
I can't answer that, I don't know.
I would check if you go out of the first before you know.
I don't know, I don't think it's a good idea.
Alright, so, well, that's something to consider down the road that we can discuss further in regards to obtaining.
I mean, I'm all techy and I like doing stuff, useful, but just being municipally, funded, you don't wanna.
Alright, moving forward, let's see here, Cattaraugus County Department of Human
That's more on the workers' comp.
Okay, is this one is it? Is that?
You already covered it.
That was P.
It's the same one?
Yeah, it's not the same one, but it's more correspondence on the same subject.
All right, Gant County Department of Economic Development, Planning and Tourism, Land Bank.
We should do this. We should send in a letter for this.
Okay, Land Bank
At
President.
least that's my opinion on it, from what I read on it.
Can I make a comment?
That's a very good idea.
The land bank is a very, very good idea. And it takes care of some zombie properties and such, and gives them quite a bit of flexibility. I know that Joe Keller and Dan Martonis' worked on this very hard, and I think it's an excellent, excellent idea to protect us all. So I would suggest that you endorse it.
So we just have to provide a letter,
Follow that letter,
In
put it on your
yeah.
letterhead. with
yeah,
your
it's
mayor
already
sign
in
it.
Word and
Change the name.
everything.
All right, all in favor of going ahead with supporting the land bank? Can I
I make that motion.
Can I
I'll
get a second?
second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, unanimous, carried, we'll go ahead and do that.
I
New
got the
York
motion,
State
but I
has
didn't
a-
get the second, I'm sorry.
Nikki.
Thank you.
So what is
New
that?
York State has already approved its pre-application. We've already received approval. That will go with the final application.
So we still need to do this?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay,
Yeah, will be attached to the final application, but we passed the first hurdle.
oh, good. Yeah, I mean, I looked online at it a little bit and,
Look what Chautauqua County's doing.
okay,
Go online at the Jamestown Post Journal, front page,
yeah,
almost daily.
awesome, yeah.
All right, so that's good. Let's see here. Email from Governor Cole in regards to the passage of the 2015-16 state budget, which primarily just talks about how the state is increasing for education.
Rainbows and butterflies.
Rainbows and butterflies, right? However, though, the great thing is that they are doing in regards to what we got. That they're doing upstate revitalization, that they're putting up for that, and also increased CHIPS funding as well by about 50 million. Is that right?
Something like that.
I believe that's what it is. So that there is some good to it, besides just actually, I mean, more education. So that's what that's all about. A thank you letter.
I was just, thank you on the flowers.
We sent her flowers for her mom.
For my dad.
And because she's.
Oh.
Grandma.
Well, we still provide our condolences.
Thank you.
You know, best we can do. NICOM briefing of the 2015-16 adopted state budget. NICOM went in more detail in regards to all of it and what they agree with, what they don't agree with. You know, pretty much there's not much to address in regards to that, just more informational for you, what they are happy to see and what they're not, which of course the improvement in CHIPS is a huge help for the area. New York State Workers' Compensation Board notice of decision.
That may be, I don't know if that's confidential, but that may be confidential. I'm not sure how much you want to discuss it.
Those
Specifics?
typically contain huge amounts of confidential information.
So that would require to be discussed in executive session.
Probably, depending on what you read, to see if it is confidential.
It's just an update.
We get these periodically.
Yeah.
It's like.
We
every
get them
6 months or
periodically
something.
and this just says no further action.
Okay, so no further action in regards to the previous claim that the village has had.
Right. Not at this
It's just
time.
continuing.
Alright, so there's nothing to update in regards to that. Okay, moving on.
Coming to that in a minute.
Alright, ecology and environment engineering PC,
That was the very large book you received.
that big book, correct? That everybody received one of those, have fun.
Wait to read it.
That's pretty much it. And what else do we have? We have email for New York State. There's a DEC public comment on proposal to address contamination in Ellicottville. I believe that was sent to emails. Yeah. In regards to that, I mean, there's nothing that we can do in regards to that. Alright, and then also in regards to correspondence, there is an employee matter, and we will have to go into executive session for a brief moment.
Can we do that again? Otherwise these people have to leave and come back.
When there's cake, we can have cake and tea.
Typically stating, I mean, is that how you typically handle executive session? And before was,
Everybody would have to leave.
Yes.
We can have cake
You
and
can
tea.
choose to table that to the end of the meeting.
alright, we'll just table that to the, complaint will be tabled to the very end. Rick, the organizational meeting. I mean, this is where we're coming into.
Yeah,
Okay, we're gonna,
well.
let's regroup and let's just.
You deep? Okay.
Okay.
Ready? Okay. Even getting along so well, I think this is the point where it's going to hit the fan, okay? Once again, all this controversy tonight was just because we wanted to go in and re-explore, and there's some things that we would like to rescind that were in the organizational meeting. So I will take the bull by the horns. What I would like to do first is I make a motion that we rescind resolution 1. All of it. And it will be, do I have a second to that motion?
Okay, I'll second.
That's the designations?
That we rescind resolution 1. Okay, we have a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Second was?
Okay, resolution 1 is hereby rescinded.
In
Do we
regards,
know what it is?
Resolution 1 was,
Designations. Who was the second? I'm sorry. Thank you.
got it? I'm sorry, I got so much paper here. We are going to probably re-adopt we have to rescind it before we can come back to it with some.
1 second, can we,
What are we rescinding?
How can you- okay, I don't understand how you can rescind what we've already passed, I guess.
Because there's 3 votes to rescind and 2 to retain.
But as far as I understand for our organizational meeting, everything stands for the next year for what we approved.
You agreed to go back in and re-explore.
Hold on, so,
I can't find it.
yes.
And you might wanna ask Jake, I think the only person that can make the motion and do that and carry it is the mayor.
That is my reading of the law, that's what I would understand, though that would only be as it pertains to an employment or appointment, because the mayor has exclusive power on that. But I would be happy to explore what the legality is on the issue as to removing your approval on it. If you wanted me to look into that, I would be very happy to.
In NICOM, I believe it's a 2/3 vote to be able for someone else other than the mayor to make a motion.
We have
To make a motion, you're saying?
Don't.
Not to make any motion, surely. Because
My
anybody
question
can
is-
make a
That
motion.
way, my understanding of NICOM is the mayor is there unless it's a 2/3 or 4/6 vote, which is 4 to 1 vote, so he doesn't have complete control over the motion thing. That is what I read.
Does, by chance, do any of the legislatures know what that is to be, by chance?
I don't know, when I was mayor, that never came up, I always made motions.
I was told that we have to rescind the motion so we can amend the motion and then reapprove the motion. That's all I wanna do, that's all I wanna do. I wanna rescind the motion, make an amendment to the motion, and then re-adopt the motion.
If you want to do that, you can go ahead and try to with the procedure. I couldn't advise you directly on what the procedure there is. I'm not immediately familiar. It's a specific point of law. Though it is possible, if you change your mind, but the liability question isn't big. But if you change the code enforcement officer from one to the other, it's possible that a detrimental reliance was created for the new code enforcement officer if he believed that he was put in the position. And if he enjoys any protections in that position, that there could be some type of wrongful termination. And I don't think there's holdover in office for code enforcement officers in the position.
Speaking to Mr. Brecker the other day, he told me the last thing he wanted was someone else's job.
Yeah. And
Very upfront, John.
yeah, as far as liability, if he's willing to put that on a letter, that's delightful. Because then from the village, then you You've covered the butts.
So you see my method here?
Absolutely.
That's all we wanna do, that's
No,
all we wanna do.
I wouldn't oppose it.
Right, we just,
I'm just saying,
I
I
was
was
told
specific.
that in order to amend the resolution, you had to rescind
That
it.
makes sense, yes. That's
Okay,
what we did.
thank you. Okay, so are we good?
Well,
Well, the question wasn't about sending and then amending and then reaccepting. It was about whether or not by that 3/5 vote, you're actually able to rescind it. Am I right? That's where the original question started. We have to know that before we can even move forward with what you want to do.
Well, I guess then we're just gonna sit here?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, then I can, if we don't do that, then I contend, at this point, we do not have a code officer. We do not have, we're up in the air about this.
Well, I mean, in regards to the code, the appointments have been